which is, it just really warms my heart. I have there's a pretty good sized contingent of friends from work. I'm working backwards, guys. There are lots of people here from Adat Shalom, from Friends of Andes. One of my son's classmates' moms is here. My high school friends, my law school friends, my just college friends, my post-college friends, my childhood friends, who, basically my family, my daughters and sons' friends, and the people who loved and cared for my mother towards the end of her life. Particularly, I'm looking at Arlen and Jonathan, and most importantly, Zany, who became my mother's third daughter, and the love and closeness that the two of them just developed over the last 3 years was one of the most extraordinary things for me to watch, because what I learned was my mother never stopped connecting with people, never stopped basically breaking up stereotypes. She was not a little old lady, not in her late 90s, not in the way she thought, not in the way she acted, and she would tell people what she thought, when she thought it, and it was remarkable. It was just a delight to watch those kinds of connections. So, in case you haven't realized it, I really lost one of my best friends this week. My mother and I, particularly over the last, I would say, 10 years, when she moved here, allegedly to just be closer to family, and since this was closer than Israel, this was where she landed. We were together all the time. She moved here, I went down to move her up here the day that Louis, my late husband and Noah and Maya's dad, was diagnosed with brain tumors. And she was allegedly moving here for me to take care of her. But in fact, she took care of me and the rest of the family for many, many years. And in ways that none of us would have ever imagined when she came up here as a little old lady at 90. She moved to Ring House, which is an independent living facility in Rockville. And within a few days of getting here, she met this cute guy. And not only was he a nice guy, Albert, who also happened to, well, anyway, not only was he a nice guy, but he drove. He was younger and he drove. So they were always going places, they were out and about, and they went to theater, and his family, who were also members of this congregation, embraced her the way none of her former 4 boyfriends' family, well, one of them embraced her. Well, she'd meet a guy and they really hit it off and have a wonderful relationship, and then they'd die, and so she would find someone new. And she just enjoyed her life. I mean, she was a real pistol. Anyway, so my mother, she and Albert they were these political activists. I wanted to just show you, for example, this is a letter that they wrote to George W. Bush. And they organized this retirement community, and look at all the signatures they got. And this was to protest, you guys will love this, you from work in particular, recent newspaper accounts of the recommendation you have made to include intelligent design in teaching school children about our origins, the origins of the universe. It is somewhat ironic that once again, proven scientific concepts of evolution threaten to be tossed out the window because the idea that we evolved from monkeys is too painful. So, so just, this just gives you a flavor of what she was like. And I recall on more than one occasion, Thanksgiving, Passover, other family dinners, my mother wouldn't be there. And Maya at one point got really pissed because she was off with Albert and his family. And Maya at one point said to me, "Isn't Grandma ever going to be with us for anything? She's always with Albert." And I thought, this is wonderful because she really had her own life and she was independent and she was able to be interdependent with us as a family. But she moved here and she was who she was. She was not a conventional woman. She always had on a hat, and she always told people exactly what she thought. One more story, and then I'll wrap up. And that probably about 7 years ago, she had cataract surgery. When Eleanor mentioned that she was forceful, and that she was a little intimidated by her at times, I thought of this. I had a flashback to this moment. So she had cataract surgery. At this point, she's walking with her walker, and little old lady, her hat, her gray hair, the patch on her eyes after cataract surgery. The blue thing with the hole, and the silver thing with the holes in it. And she's in her kitchen, and she had some weird way of cutting her pills. She refused to, and she had a hammer and a knife, and she's going like this to cut her pills. And I looked at her and I said, "Hey, Mom, why don't you use the pill cutter over there?" And she turned around towards me with the knife and the hammer, and she's like, "I don't want that pill cutter." And I was like totally freaked out. Okay. And then I burst out laughing. And I said, "Mom, do you know what you look like?" It was hilarious. And so let me just leave you on that note that she was a real joy. At times she was a real pain in the butt, but most of the time it was a real joy to be able to give back the way she had given to me over these years. And somewhere along the line, we did transition from her taking care of me to me taking care of her. But even at the end, she was still taking care of me, and I'm going to really miss her.
As amazing a mom as Charlotte was to both of these incredible women, whose legacy, as you continue to build in multiple time zones, is hers as well. There are already amazing people of the third generation, and on their behalf, we invite Noah back up.
Guiding Lights by Charlotte Kole. I met him at the breakfast line at Ringhouse. "You look like a live one," I offered. Then he flashed me a smile with a big gold tooth in front. The gold shone. Half to himself, he muttered, "What to select for breakfast?" His nose twitched at the sight of donuts, glazed. So early in the morning. "Donut holes are harmless," I quipped. We selected eggs and cereals. His gold tooth caught many transitory shining lights as I started towards the table for two. He followed. Besides his gold tooth, he had a gleam in his eyes, matching lights. His ears were well formed, and he appeared to have good teeth besides a gold one. I put my cereal on the table, and he was watching with amazement. His eyeballs seemed to flicker from left to right and back. I thought I saw him wink, but my sleepy eyes and sometimes limited vision had left me with a blur. "So I look like a live one," we giggled nonsensically while his features lit up his face. So I decided to flirt. "How about a moonwalk together? "Are you married?" he asked. I was nonplussed and held back a wise guy response like, "Do you have intentions?" Instead, I simply answered, "No." It was time to leave. We got up, and he ushered me out between the crowded tables and walkers with a light guiding touch of his hand on my back below my shoulder blades. I invite Chaz and Rachel to join me. Page 839 in your Sidurim. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, hachol v'hayam, rishu shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tilat ha'adam, hachol ve'hayam, rishu shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tilat ha'adam. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, hachol ve'hayam, rishu shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tilat ha'adam, hachol ve'hayam, rishu shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tilat ha'adam. Thank you.
וישוב העפר על הארץ כשהיה, והרוח תשוב אל האלוהים אשר נתנה. The dust returns to the earth as it was, and the mind falls back to its divine source. Those words of tradition are the frontispiece for a short poem by Rami Shapiro. Life and death, a twisted vine sharing a single root, a water-bright green stretching to top a twisted yellow, only to wither itself as another green unfolds overhead. One leaf atop another, yet under the next. A vibrant tapestry of arches and falls, all in the act of becoming. Death is the passing of life, and life is the stringing together of so many little passings. We, the still green leaf above the beautiful yellowed leaf of this past century, we maintain that proximity, we maintain that connection. And as it says in the concluding prayer that we turn to in just a few moments, we hold her in the bonds of eternal life. Utzror bitzror hachayim et nishmata, which also means we bind her in the bonds of the living. We keep the best of her with us. her life stands now as a bit of a challenge to many of us. How much are we willing to rock the boat? How much are we willing to put ourselves out there? How much are we willing to be 2 generations ahead of our time, not always comprehended well by those around us, but doing what we know is right and what paves a vibrant future for those who come after us? Can we be a little more forward-thinking? Can we be a little more feminist? Can we be a little more of firecrackers ourselves as we carry her legacy forward? Charlotte will join her son-in-law an hour from now, at the end of a long earthly journey, in an appropriate place. For anyone who would like to join the procession, Gan Zikaron, the best cemetery in the area, is up I-270 off exit 18 for Clarksburg. You go east, and then north, and then west, and then it's there on the right. You can't miss it. It's a half hour or so from here. So roughly 1 o'clock, folks will be gathering at the graveside next to Lewis for the final farewell to Charlotte. And then out-of-towners, at least, are welcome back to the home. Come. Come. And the Shiva schedule, we want to get this right. Great. So Sunday afternoon, visiting in the daylight afternoon hours, 2 to 4. Minyan for the first 3 nights following Shabbat, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday at 7:30. And those will all be opportunities for us to share the memories that some of us were privileged to have of this amazing person, and a chance for us to hear more in the informal living room setting, laughter and tears commingling as we tell these stories, as we share that legacy, and as we keep the best of Charlotte very much with us.
It's our time to turn to the memorial prayer, El Male Rachamim. It's in your Siddur. Another version of it is in your Siddur on page 639. It's my honor to chant the words, but I invite all of us to make the prayer together and to come to it with perhaps this understanding. We are part of a tradition that finds its theology and its search for meaning through the medium of Agadah, through the medium of stories and images. We find our way through those images. And in this moment, in this final prayer together here, we tune all of our thoughts to the image of God as the source of greatest compassion, the one who has the expansive compassion enough to open the gates of heaven to receive this soul, which we say in our poetry shines like the most brilliant lights of heaven. The soul of this beautiful person that is going to her eternity. In the traditional formula, it says, began Eden tehe menuchata, that her final rest is back in that place of beginning, beauty, and purity. And as Rabbi Fred lifted up just a moment ago, we say in these words that our prayer is that her legacy be bound up with our lives. I believe the intention is also for us to be asked to release whatever we may still be holding. That if it's possible that in a life of 100 years there could still be any unfinished business, anything that was left unsaid, that it's now released so that the soul can make its full journey back to its home. And in that release is the deepening of the bond of legacy. When we come to the words v'tanuach b'shalom, I invite us to bring our voices together to make that prayer and to support this soul on its journey. May it be a journey of complete rest. I invite us to rise.
God filled with mercy, dwelling in the heavens' heights, bring proper rest beneath the wings of your Shekhinah, amid the ranks of the holy and the pure, illuminating like the brilliance of the skies, the soul of Charlotte Kole, who goes now to her eternal place of rest. May you, who are the source of mercy, shelter her beneath your wings eternally, and bind her soul among the living, that she may rest in peace. And let us say,
El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bameromim, Ametzei Menucha Nechona, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע את נשמת זהבה בת יוסף וחנה שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה. כנפיך לעולמים ותצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום, ותנוח בשלום, ותנוח בשלום, ותנוח בשלום, ותנוח בשלום, ותנוח בשלום, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר